speaks on behalf of the majority of businesses across the province, and we do welcome the opportunity to present our views this afternoon on Bill 80. It's also important to provide the Standing Committee some additional background surrounding the formation of the Saskatchewan Business Council. In December of 2004, organizations representing the majority of Saskatchewan businesses joined together to form the Saskatchewan Business Council to publicly voice our serious concerns regarding the Saskatchewan government's proposed changes to labour legislation and our strong opposition to the government's intention to revive the government-directed hours for part-time work. For months, the SBC aggressively lobbied the provincial government and told the government they were on the wrong side of the issue. We were therefore pleased, the Council was pleased when on February 18, 2005, the provincial government withdrew the draft regulations and repealed the unproclaimed additional hours section of the Labour Standards Act. We were also pleased the government listened to the real concerns that were raised over those various months by business owners, by part-time employees, university students, urban and rural municipal leaders, and various regional economic development authorities across the province. The government did the right thing by repealing that legislation. The Business Council was then able to focus its energies on policies that make Saskatchewan a job-friendly province. The Business Council thanks the Government of Saskatchewan for introducing Bill 80 and for having the political courage to bring about balance and fairness in construction labour relations. The Council believes that Saskatchewan must step forward and pass Bill 80, which will lead to expanded capacity of the construction industry to meet the significant infrastructure needs of private sector investment in our province as we seek to maintain this economic momentum we've seen. Providing workers with greater choice, in which union represents them, is a sound and reasonable measure that will receive widespread support in our province. Equally important to the construction industry is the key provision of recognizing the principle of abandonment, putting in place a process whereby the Labour Relations Board can revoke an old, inactive union certification agreement on the basis of abandonment will remove the uncertainty and lead to greater confidence within the construction industry. The Merit Contractors Association of Saskatchewan, also a member of the SBC, put it best. What the construction industry needs today and what the province needs today are new rules for a new Saskatchewan economy. The Bill 80 initiative has the capacity to attract new workers, new residents, new projects, and new economic activity to Saskatchewan. Accomplishing that will go a considerable distance in avoiding the economic downturn that is occurring almost everywhere else in the world today.
We now continue on with the presentation, Mr. Chair. The SBC has reviewed the legislation and we fully support Bill 80. The legislation will provide greater choice for employees in selecting the union that represents them. At its heart, Bill 80 is about greater choice and about democracy. The SBC strongly supports the principle that employees and not the government should have the right to select who represents them. The SBC also supports the abandonment provisions contained in Bill 80. We believe these changes are long overdue. It is inherently unfair and undemocratic for any union to abandon its responsibilities under a collective agreement and not in any way represent workers for years, only to reactivate the old certification order years later. This denies the employees the democratic choice of who should represent them. Our membership notes that other provinces recognize the concept of abandonment, either in legislation or in policies and practices. We note Saskatchewan is behind in this area, and we welcome the updating and modernization of this key concept. The SBC also supports the key provisions in the bill that will allow employees to decide which union can represent them. Under the terms of the bill, trade unions will be allowed to organize a company on a single trade or single craft basis, a multi-craft basis, or an all-employee basis. We believe this allows for greater freedom of choice should employees want to explore other opportunities. There's nothing in the bill that compels employees to change existing arrangements. This proposed new arrangement removes a monopoly of the building trades. The SBC strongly favors competition, and we believe the building trades have nothing to fear from competition. In every case, competition brings out the best in all of us and is a foundation of economic excellence. The SBC strongly believes Bill 80 will help set the stage for greater industry capacity within the construction industry to meet the ongoing infrastructure needs of our province. As we know, the provincial government has invested $1.5 billion this year with a $500 million booster shot to help our economy weather the economic turmoil. The immediate infusion of capital will help speed up infrastructure projects across the province. Bill 80 will attract new companies and employees to help meet the challenge. The SPC believes that all sides win in this legislation. Our economy will continue to lead the nation. Residents will win because more jobs will need to be filled. More investment will flow into the province. Employees in the construction trades will have greater choice of who represents them, and employers will have greater choice of who represents them. While the SPC is pleased with Bill 80 and believes the changes are long overdue, the government should not lose sight of the fact that much more needs to be done to build upon the economic momentum that we are experiencing. We refer to changes in the Workers' Compensation Board, Occupational Health and Safety, labor standards, and changes to the Trade Union Act. The SPC will continue to press for changes and will allow our province to remain competitive. The SPC urges the government to pass Bill 80 in its present form, without amendment, and move forward with changes to modernize other key pieces of legislation that support a strong growth agenda. Again, thank you for introducing Bill 80. The SPC looks forward to continuing to discuss how we can create greater opportunities for workers in our province. As always, the SPC is ready to provide its perspective, advice, support as we work to grow Saskatchewan. And in a few minutes I still have, I think, on time for presentation. I want to talk about some of the misinformation or misconceptions that we have heard over the last couple of days. One of them is on the concept of abandonment. And I think it's important to understand there's been some misapplication of the intent of that as we understand it. We were speaking of some specific cases, and we heard about Saunders, and I raised that yesterday with you. That is a very real case where a company is in serious difficulties because of having been abandoned for several years by the union, only to have a reapplication to go back. I don't think anybody's talking about, if you look back 25 years ago, in 3 of those years, there was no representation by the union, that automatically there would be decertification. The process is much more fair and reasonable as we understand it. It's an application based to the Labor Relations Board. Both the union and the employer and employees have a right to make representations to discuss that before any decision is made. This is a fair and reasonable, transparent process, and we shouldn't get alarmed to talk about the most extreme case to make a point that isn't really valid to begin with. We've heard comments about the de-skilling of the industry. And this is particularly for those who favor by craft unions, and that, of course, is the building trades. Nothing was presented, I've heard so far, that indicates that there is de-skilling. You must have your journey person papers or your apprenticeship papers to be on the work site to do the work. Whether you're a multi-craft person, if you're a welder and a carpenter on site, when you're looking at a wall-to-wall union, you would take advantage of the skills of the people that are there. I think this is a great way to empower employees in the work site. It does, in no way have I heard anything in any province that uses the wall-to-wall union that has a problem with a de-skilling of the industry. This is, I think, fear-mongering and trying to scare people. The notion of it's not broke, don't fix it, a fair comment. But I think what's we've done here is we're trying to improve the system, make it better, to improve it from what it was in 2001, what it was in 1987, where the economy was different, where the dynamics between labor and business were different. We have a chronic skill shortage that we must find a way to resolve it. By building capacity, by building opportunities for companies to come in and workers to enter the industry, we build that capacity. Is this a silver bullet? No, it's not, but it certainly is a way to move forward. I haven't heard of any other major changes that could begin to address that. Both the opposition when they are in government and in this current government have invested heavily in the apprenticeship system, as I mentioned yesterday. That's one way to do it. This is one tool in the toolbox to frame it, to open it up, make it more fair, and provide for opportunities. Many discussions on wages and benefits and training and safety have all indicated in varied degrees that if we change this to wall-to-wall, we're going to lose wages that go down, benefits go down, training's down, safety down. No evidence whatsoever. No evidence. Would you find that in British Columbia or Alberta or Ontario where this is done? I haven't heard anything that gives me evidence to, and I would urge you to keep it in perspective. Heard nothing whatsoever. I did tell you, and I can provide you information, that the wages of those who are not in union versus union are extremely competitive. In a marketplace where there is a lack of skilled trades, you are going to have wages go up. And they are going up substantially, both union and non-union. So we have to be understanding and realistic in this. The supposition on some of the comments made, and I'm not going to attribute to anybody, just what I'm hearing in total, is that somehow this is anti-union legislation. I represent within my industry with SCA, union and non-union. And this is my position and the vision of this commission is that we support this legislative change. It is not anti-union. It is a change of how business is done over time, certainly, but nothing